empathetic teachers as well, but my teachers still prepared us for the real world. We still knew what was up. But I try to tell you, there's a way to prepare a child for the real world where you don't have to throw them to the wolves at first. You show them, hey, this is how we gather, this is how we do things, but on the outside, this is what could be happening.
You are now tuning in to the Awkward Thinking Podcast.
Welcome back to the Awkward Thinking Podcast. I'm your boy Nas, aka Sticks.
What's up? I'm Vince.
And we are the friends you never knew you needed. All that in a bag of chips. Awkward thinkers. White people class in the building. Woo. You know what to do. The vibes. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Do all that in the bag of chips. Make sure you tell us why we are your favorite podcast. Tell your friend about our podcast. Tell your auntie about your podcast. Tell your favorite teacher how to get your podcast.
All right.
Yeah.
Today we got a special guest on the podcast. You want to introduce yourself, Miss Massey?
Absolutely. My name is Eileen Massey. I was formerly a teacher, and I'm still kind of working in education. I just go around and review schools.
Miss Massey was one of my former high school teachers. I had her, I think, for like 2 or 3 different classes. Way back in like 2015, 2016.
A long time ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. I feel old now. It's kind of wild to have her on the podcast now. Looking back at it, I don't know. I would have never thought we would be here. So it's funny to be doing that.
So was you one of them high school teachers that was fine back in 2015, or you was just how was that?
So like when I started teaching at the high school, I was older. I was 36. Okay. So I felt like, I'm older. I waited some time. I was like, I don't want those issues. Like I've seen those things happen to like younger teachers. But even though I was 36, there were still like some inappropriate like situations
definitely
that I like encounter as a 36-year-old woman, almost 40.
Okay. And not in their defense or anything, but Miss Massey, even though she came in at 36, Miss Massey looked like she was still in her early 20s coming in. Okay. So like when she came in, she like us, we teenagers, we like, oh, they got a young teacher in here. Right. Like she came in, we all like, oh, they got a young teacher in here. And so like, you know how it is with a young teacher. And then Miss Massey she's a very beautiful woman. So like she come in, she's beautiful. You got the girls on one side who are like, oh, like forget her, this and that, because now they jealous because the boys in the class is not fiending over them, and now you got the dudes in the class with hormones and everything going crazy. But I don't think nobody, to my knowledge, anybody in my class, nobody got too inappropriate or said anything to my knowledge that was crazy. I think we still kept it respectful, even though it was like, oh, there's a beautiful teacher here.
Nothing in your class.
How was that though? Like, cause you you watch Abbott Elementary?
I do. I love that show.
So how was that or maybe I'm getting too far ahead.
I mean, hey man. Yeah. It's a show, man. We here for dialogue and conversation.
But like, were you worried though, like being a younger teacher coming in and like not even just with the students, but even with the other staff, like having to like, I'm young, but
So yeah, like, I actually, because I was older, I didn't think it, but like also there were some staff members who like, and this is like adults, like who were like spreading rumors about like myself and other teachers, like, because me and my sister came in at the same time.
Oh, you got
and so they were spreading rumors about, my sister is like 3 years younger than me. So yeah, like I wasn't worried about it, but it was a thing. Like when we first got there.
Yeah, I don't. You would think stuff isn't messy, but I feel like no matter where you work at, no matter what you doing, it gets messy because it's like you got all these people in one place. It's a little social bubble. They all whispering and they all talking. Because I don't know. I feel like I do remember it was stuff that we would hear like we probably shouldn't have heard or like rumors. Teachers definitely shouldn't be talking in front of students, but like whenever you see a younger woman come in, you always go hear rumors about her. Like it's always going to be something said, and she's always going to be in this teacher face or this teacher liked them, and I don't know.
So did you ever want to fight somebody? Is that the thing?
Like fight an adult?
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, it might get crazy. I might dap up at the end, but did you want to fight somebody at the end of that?
So there was never anyone I wanted to fight. There were people that I just didn't like engage with at all. Like I didn't speak to because I know that they were people who were like kind of keeping up this rumor mill or like these gossips. So I just didn't. I wasn't around them at all. Like people I just knew were miserable people.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna tell y'all like this. I'm gonna tell y'all the story. So I used to always have like junk in my food, like candy, like in my room. And so I was walking down the hall. I'm at the other end of the hall, and somebody yells, "Can I come down to your room and get some candy?" And so I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Can I come to your room and get some candy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like just come when after fourth period or whatever." So there was a teacher down there, and the teacher said that the kid said, "Can I cuss?" I mean, I don't want to cuss, but can I just say
This is an open platform.
Oh, okay. So he said that the teacher went back and said that the student yelled down the hall, "Can I come? Can I get some pussy?"
Ooh.
And I was like, "Yeah, come back at the fourth period."
I would have loved my teacher. If
So
she would've told
like
me that.
stuff like that, and this was an adult that said that.
Yeah.
And was telling like the other adults that I said, you know, yeah, come at the fourth period. So stuff like that, like, and when
That's
that
pretty
kind of
wild.
stuff happens, it's like, okay, I ain't got no reason to even talk to you because why would you like this is like my livelihood, but yeah.
And especially with a kid though, that's not even nothing to joke around or play with. Yeah.
But you know what's so crazy about that? Like sometimes when you are like as a high schooler, like that's like the ultimate like flex. Yeah, I don't know what
Like,
it is to deal with
the
a teacher.
fantasy.
Yeah, it's the fantasy thing. Like all my teachers was old, wrinkly. Like nobody want. I think the only teacher I had, she was like an Irish lady. She was sunburnt, but you know I went to an all boys Catholic school, so it's like going to a jail. You see a correctional officer. She don't look the best, but she gonna do the job for while you in here.
I feel like it's low key like an immature. It's an immature way of thinking though, because it's like you do have this person, this adult that's in power, this person who can low key control your grades and all that. They have power over you. There should never, especially in a setting like that, there should never be a reason why a teacher and a student are ever interacting in that kind of way. So it's like. Us as kids, we probably look at it and we think, and it's also glorified through media and everything that we see, like that's supposed to happen, or if it happens, it's supposed to be a plus. But that's not okay.
I think a lot of the time. So I know you probably grew like strong relationships as I see like you have with Vince. But how do you cut that off to?
How do you keep it professional?
Yeah, because you start getting a little lenient with the things that you do say to a child and stuff like that, and like how do you keep it professional?
So I feel like what I realized and understood was there are some students there were maybe a group of 4 students that I just had like really good relationships. 2 girls and 2 boys, and like they were just with me. I would take them to games, and I always had a really good relationship. And I even talked to these kids now. One of them passed away, but I talked to like them all like now, even still regularly. But I think like outside of that 4, like there were certain things that I didn't even think I had to do because that wasn't on my mind. Like somebody was like, "You can't sit in the room with the door closed," and in my mind, it didn't cross my mind that I was doing anything wrong. But I was like, "Oh, I got these 2 boys in here. I can't be in here." I didn't think about that. So there were certain things that I had to kind of adjust and start thinking kind of in that way. Like I can't have this kid like in a car by myself, like after hours, taking him from a game, or I can't like have this boy in my classroom, just certain things like that I kind of had to adjust. Because like I think y'all probably won't be surprised, but there were a lot of like just kind of trying to cross the lines or kind of testing, where it was like, all right, now just like, no, that's not okay. Like it's certain things you just can't say. So I think just being mindful, because when I came into the high school, honestly, I really wasn't mindful of a lot of things. So just like being mindful, and being aware. Like the kids that I had around me all the time, I know that that's not, that it wasn't anything like weird going on.
Y'all were like a posse though. I remember it used to like, like you said, it was like four kids.
And
it
the
used
ones
to be
I always had with
rotation.
me.
Yeah, and like the other kids would be upset because they'd be like, "You show favoritism, it's this and that," and like y'all always this and that.
I know, it's so bad.
It'd be a lot of hate, a lot of jealousy.
I don't know. It's like everything, everywhere you go, like you're gonna have people that you just like, it's just like your people.
I don't understand, cause I'm kind of going through that right now at work, where like we got people who want to be a part of like the clique, I guess, that we are. I don't see us as a clique, but I look at it more so like we've built a friendship, a relationship with each other, and so we can joke and we can have certain bonds, and people come in and they be like, all right, well, I want to be a part of that, or they see that and they feel challenged by it, and it's like, we not here to challenge you or for you to feel any kind of way.
It's not, but it's like people find their people like at work. And just because you're not like a part of that, it doesn't like, it's just, like you should find your own people, the people you're comfortable with, that you like have the same interests as, that you can kind of just like be comfortable in a different type of way. And that's something we have to realize. We not everybody's people, like we ain't gonna vibe with everybody in that way.
So, did you ever have like any love interest as far as coworkers? Like, you know how like it is in Abbott Elementary, somebody is flirting or something like that. You ain't never had no times where you flirted with the superintendent or anything like that?
So I never know. The only time when I first started working, the summer before I started working there, I was dating a coworker. But he broke it off because he said, I think it might be uncomfortable for us to be working together. It's just like, So, and we had just went out like that summer. We just like hung out. Like it wasn't anything like, serious. But then after maybe like 3 years after, like right before I left, we started dating again. And we were working together at the time. So that was another thing that was like gave people like gossip,
Yeah, and people love some good gossip. How was that working with somebody you date? Because I'm working, like my girl, we work together right now.
It's conflict of interest, I say.
I don't think so.
It's, I don't know. Like I don't know. Like everywhere you go, there are people who are unhappy. And so I feel like because we work together, like, people would try to people just make stuff up. Like people said we were sneaking away and like meeting in the locker room, and it was just like a lot of but like I feel like you can't really like be hugged up or like even in classrooms we wasn't hugged up or it was always just maintaining like a level of professionalism.
Is that
because people want a reason to gossip?
Definitely.
Is that only for like black teachers? Because I did not when like my teachers were like predominantly white, and that was never the case. They always showed that they was messing with each other, whether they was married or anything like that. And like I remember when one of my teachers got married, he got married to one of like the subs or something like that. She kept coming in or something like that. And we applauded him for like proposing to her in marriage, and they would come in, they would flirt with each other. They eventually had a kid together, and stuff like that. But it seemed like it wasn't like a big issue for the involvement for us to be in that space with them. So I don't know if it's
black
different.
I think it is different, but I think it's different because like I feel like black people, we feel like we always have to show up as our very best selves. Yeah. Like we always we can't be less professional. Like we were in a professional development before, and one of the white teachers started like saying, "Man, what the fuck are y'all talking about? And fuck this, fuck that," like just cussing. I've never heard a black person speak like that in a professional environment, but I've heard white people do it often. So it's like we can't get away. If we did that, we be all kind of ghetto and be getting called in and stuff like that. So I think it's just like we just gotta, show up a little differently to be taken serious.
I think it's also about your environment as well, because like I love my teachers and everything, but I like I said, I feel like I knew a lot that was going on behind the scenes that I shouldn't have known. And so like we were in high school, but I do feel like some on the teacher level, there was high school stuff going on where it was like rumors and stuff being spread around. And then again, the rumors aren't just being spread around amongst the teachers. It's being spread. It's being spread around for like through the kids and through the teachers. And it's like I should know, even if it's not true, I shouldn't know that this might be happening with teachers, or this is like being speculated with teachers. People definitely don't have that professional side where it's like, let me not say this in front of a kid.
Yeah, especially in high school, like that's true.
And because like the way that high school worked was like yes, everybody has like their favorite teacher or the teacher that they up under, but then you have friends. Everybody talks. So like if I'm being a teacher's pet to Miss Maskey, and then Miss Maskey is feeding me information. When I go over to you, Nas, and I tell you about it, you go tell it to whoever, and now you talking to your favorite teacher about it.
You know what's so crazy though? I feel like because I had the best of both worlds, because I went to private, then I went to public. But I've seen more kids get hit in public than I've seen in private schools and stuff like that. Like we had a teacher, her name was Miss Johns, and she would cuss at us crazy. She would hit us if we was acting up. She was more so like the I would like to say the Medea of the school. Like literally, you seen her, you know that she was talking to you. You was her favorite. She would pull you to the side and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think it was more lenient because I guess people didn't care in public school more than they cared in private.
If I'm private, I'm paying to be here. And then again in public schools though, these for the most part, when I was in public school, my teachers were black. They were people who looked like me. They looked like my parents and everything. So I'm okay with you talking to me a certain way. Yeah. Especially when you are correcting me and getting on me about certain things. Like my teachers are allowed, like in high school, some of my teachers cuss at us sometimes. Get y'all shit together, do better or whatever. It was some stuff that we were needed to hear. But again, you can't if you don't look like me and we don't have a relationship, you can't come down to me like that. Yeah. Nobody putting their hands on me.
And that right. I wouldn't appreciate that with anybody. But I know. So I worked in the urban suburban district before, and one of the things that really bothered me, like I'm gonna tell you a story too. When I was at the other high school, we were in a professional development, and behind me there were two male white teachers, and they were just like, "Oh, I got my 40, and I'm about to go to the hood and bust it with my homies." Like really, really just inappropriate and offensive. Like, and so I was like, I'm sitting there and I'm hearing it. I'm like, I cannot say anything right now because I was pissed off. I'm just like,
and so I didn't say anything. An angry black woman.
Exactly. And I've always been mindful of that. So I was like, okay. So I sent the email to the principal. We had a white one and a black one. I sent the email to the principal and I'm like, this was really offensive. It was inappropriate. It's not professional. I was like, and you're mimicking the culture that you're supposed to be a part of and understanding, but you're making a joke out of it. And so the principal responded and said, okay, I'll have a conversation. What? It was the white principal responded. And so I was like, well, what happened? I'm like, that was really offensive. Like, is anything happening? Like, can I have a conversation? Can it be facilitated? He was like, no, I took care of it. And that was it. And so then another time I had on a Black Girl Magic shirt, and the white principal called me in the office and said, somebody found that offensive. Cause they were like, well, what if I wore a shirt that said Black White Man Magic? Like, that's offensive.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like
it sounded like KKK.
Hello, like I'm working in the school with all Black girls, and so like situations like that, like, and I'm not saying that white teachers can't be effective in inner city schools, but there's such a disconnect. Like even me watching like some of those younger white teachers, the way they interacted with the kids, not only like they were afraid of them, but their expectations were so low. Yeah. Like, oh, you can't do this. You don't know. This is too hard. Let me make this easy for you. Yep. Because, so it just be like, it's so frustrating. And then I work in education now, and I work with like principals and superintendents and like just leadership. And I don't see, it's so rare to see Black people in educational leadership. Like I just feel like it's so like just racist, like just the systems of education are so racist. Definitely. So it's so frustrating, like what you're saying, the difference between public and private. But sometimes, and this is just for me working in public, I really feel like some of these teachers feel like Black people don't care about their kids. And so they talk to them crazy. They do certain things that they wouldn't do if they were in like, some suburbs or private schools. And it's frustrating, like, to witness. But I believe what you're saying, that's on brand. That they would do that in a public school.
I will say that though. I think a lot of the times when I did go to private school, I felt like when I was in public school, I felt more belittled from white teachers than I was in private school. I feel like that when you, I think that was my disconnect, and that's why a lot of them didn't take to me as well, because they would try to downplay black students as like, you don't know this or anything like that. And I'm like, you know, I used to when I was in high school, I stood up to this teacher and I was like, hey, like, that ain't gonna fly. Like, you ain't gonna try to like little us, you know what I mean? Like, I know what that is, and you're not gonna try. And I think they try to use sarcasm as their like character trait or their personality trait to quote unquote be relatable and to be like, so the black kids can just blow it off and be like, oh, that's just her, you know, or that's just him, you know?
It burns me because I feel like they have that white savior complex where they feel like they are doing a lot and you fixing everything and you're not. You are not helping. I'm seeing that now with coworkers. I see white people, how they interact with black kids. Like you said, it's a fear there. It's like, oh, I got to keep you at a distance. You can't get close to me. You can't build a bond with me. You can't, there's no relationship. It's like, oh, I'm kind of worried that at any time you can snap. And then it is like that where when you try to talk to me, it's how you talk to me. I'm not stupid. I'm not like.
No.
I don't know.
Yes. That white savior complex, yes.
You spoke to her with that one, huh?
Because
You did. Listen.
I already know she know. I already know.
I do like, but I would see the teachers talking to parents like they were children, like really using a sing-songy voice, like, okay, so what we're gonna do, and I'm just like, why are you talking to this adult like that?
Yeah,
like, they're slow. It's just so oh my gosh, like, yeah, it's frustrating. That white savior complex, you just hit a nerve with that one, because I still see it now. I see it now, and it comes in the form of like low expectations, of feeling like these kids don't have parents that care about them at home, of feeling like they don't have parents who do the best that they can, you know, like, and it like, oh, I don't have to get them homework. Their parents can't help them with it, or, you know, their parents not gonna send the homework back, or I don't know what their home life is like. Yeah. But it's like, just because you live like in a certain area doesn't mean that you don't have a clean house or structure or, you know, parents that care.
Right.
So,
and I feel like, you know, if it's that serious, ask those questions, like how is everything going on at home? And I don't want to put like too much pressure on teachers, because I understand y'all already worked through a lot and y'all got a lot going on. But if you don't just assume, because if you assume, you feel me.
Exactly. That's what happens too often. Just the assumptions. That's what gets them.
Let's get into some petty politics though. Miss Massey, have you seen that that video of that substitute fighting that student?
I have. So my thoughts, and this is biased, it's coming from a former teacher perspective, but I feel like there's not a lot of respect for a lot of young people. Let me just say they were both wrong. I'll start with that. But the way that girl was in that woman's face, the way she tried to snatch something from her, the way that she, like, you know, was just so disrespectful to that adult, that was triggering. Because I'm like, why should someone be expected to be disrespected on that level without having a response? That girl swung on her. Yeah. And it's like, now, so to expect someone to have this superhuman restraint where you're getting swung on and you just got to like try to hold her back or like walk away, to me is crazy. So I feel like the girl, I feel like more so the teacher, like, I get it. Like, okay, maybe I don't know. But that girl was too disrespectful. And the mom actually wrote something saying, I ain't mad at the teacher. Right. She's like, I'm mad at my daughter.
I saw that.
So
I respected that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like...
Me too.
Number one, I'm not getting paid enough to be able to show restraint when somebody is being this aggressive to me. You are too close to me. You are... And people were like, oh, was she bumping her? Why are you close enough where I can bump you? And I'm not coming up to you and corner you in the wall and bumping you into the wall. You are coming up to me and you getting too close. And now I got to bump you. Me bumping you is telling you too close. Already, you should know you too close if I got to bump you for you. And then the girl is coming at her and she aggressive. She yelling at her. You go give me back my phone, this and that. And then you swung at me. You tried to hit me. You tried to knock my head off my shoulders.
I didn't see this video that y'all.
You got to see the video. Yeah. But the younger girl, or the young girl, she was like, the student was very aggressive, and I was just thinking, I'm like, it shouldn't even got that far where like the girl, she's walking up onto the teacher like that.
Nope, it shouldn't have.
Like, I can't even think about sitting in the classroom. And I seen one of my former teachers, you know, they recorded him getting into a fight with a student and everything. And that teacher, I hated that teacher while I was in school, but I would have never thought to raise my hands up to that teacher. And when I seen it, I wasn't like, oh, he finally got his ass beat. I was like, bro, why would you put your hands on a teacher, an adult, somebody who could be your parent? And that teacher was annoying, but I would have never. I don't condone putting your hands on no grown person, on no teacher, especially a person. I'm at work. I'm not here to fight you. That's not what I'm here for.
I feel like now, honestly, since y'all been talking about that, even the disciplinary part of, kids just get beaten like with the paddle and stuff like that in school with the nuns and all that stuff. So, my mom recalls a couple of times where go ahead. If my kid acted up, beat their ass. You know what I mean? So do you think that needs to be implemented back into teaching systems?
Because that's not.
No.
You don't have the right to put your hands on me. I don't care. Like, call my parent up here. Let my parent whip my butt. But you don't. You're not touching me. Especially in high school.
Think about the much involvement a teacher has in your life more than your parent.
I also, just as a person who works with kids right now, I don't want that kind of responsibility. I don't think that's something for me to do. Maybe.
For me, I think about like and this is just my mindset. Like, I just think about the racial component of it. I think about all the white teachers that you have at such a young age when you probably will be paddling that are dealing with these mostly black kids. Those optics really, really bother me. Yeah, like it's like I don't want my kid getting hit because and also like the way that it's like cultural misinterpretations. Like you looking at it as aggressive. Well, my child is just frustrated. Yeah, and you like, oh, I'm about to paddle you now. So it's like it's not. We don't have that. It takes a village mentality really anymore. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know that you're not just paddling my child because you're frustrated or because you're upset. And so that.
No, go ahead, Miss Massey. My bad.
No, that was it. I was done.
Like right now, again, I work with kids right now. And one of the kids, when he gets upset, and not even just like, he doesn't have to be mad, but when his feelings is hurt and when he feels like sad or like, I don't know, down, the way he responds is very aggressive, and it's like, get away from me. That's how it sounds. And it's like, at first it's you hear that and automatically you like, who the hell is you talking to? But then I had to stop and I'm like, what's wrong? What's actually going on? What's the matter? And you realize it's not him trying to come off aggressive or even like I'm trying to buck up to you. I'm just hurt, and me talking through that hurt, this is how it comes out. But they don't process that. Everybody can't process that. And I know for a fact, the way white people deal with black kids is not the way that we deal with all kids. Because I feel like we deal with all kids in a general way, regardless if they're white or black. White people make sure they separate it.
Right, exactly. But you know what? And there was a study that said that students that have black teachers have better outcomes. Like black teachers have higher expectations for all students, not just black students, for all students. So it's like they're more empathetic, they're more nurturing and caring. And this was a study saying that like if you just got one black teacher, you're gonna have better outcomes. Yeah. So that's like that's legitimate. That's real.
I don't agree with that.
Why?
I don't agree with that because
that was a study.
I mean,
you can't knock a study.
Yeah, I can't.
Why do you feel like
it's been many studies?
But why do you have that feeling?
Because I didn't have all black teachers, and then my outcome wasn't different. I feel like sometimes that. And I'm different. My case is different, but I think when the odds was bet against me, that's what made me work the hardest. I think that having white teachers showed me a different reality of this is how the world is going to treat me, regardless of anything else. So it's not like because the world is not going to be empathetic to me. The world is not going to be sympathetic to me. They're not going to care for me. They're not going to do anything. So we got to treat this as a workplace and a work environment. So I'm treated by people that treat me as this is a job and I have to do my job and to teach you. Granted, it's not always should be like that, and should be genuine people that want to shape and mold the youth, but when it comes to certain things like that, I feel like when the odds was bet against me, it prepared me more for the world than somebody being nurturing and empathetic to me, to the things that I can cope with and take with ease and a grain of salt to today.
But even I had nurturing and empathetic teachers as well, but my teachers still prepared us for the real world. We still knew what was up. But I try to tell you, there's a way to prepare a child for the real world where you don't have to throw them to the wolves at first. You show them, hey, this is how we gather, this is how we do things. But on the outside, this is what could be happening. So, like,
Yeah.
I think that in your situation, I don't like the idea of always having to grind against something in order to become better. Sometimes I do like that something comes in and helps mold me, helps shapes me, versus me having to hit against it in order for me to. The negativeness does not make me a better person. Imagine, not saying you haven't gone far, but just imagine where you could have been if you had somebody in your ear telling you that you could do it, that this is possible, that, yeah, and not just that you could do it, but you see somebody like you shining. When you see somebody like you shining, it's like, I know I can be there. I know that this is something that is possible for me.
Once again, I can't agree with you with that, because it's one of those things where it's like, I've seen that without it being somebody in the forefront. I've seen that it's possible, you know what I mean, from either whether it's figures on TV or television. I've seen that it can be prominent black people without somebody showing me that. And sometimes people do need that, you know. My situation is a little different from everybody else's situation, but
Facts.
like I said, like it just prepared me for the reality of a no, you know. And I feel like when you're too nurturing people, and that's why as our generation we have this entitlement figure, because a lot of the times we are nurtured and we are empathetic.
I don't know anybody in our generation who was really nurtured for real to say.
We can't tolerate a no in this generation.
But I don't think that comes from nurturing. Go ahead,
No,
Miss Massey.
and it did, like, so I feel like as black people, and especially as black men, you all encounter adversity on a daily basis. So to me, like, when you're in school, you can't, you know, it's like your IQ goes down when you're stressed, when you're anxious, and all these other things are going on. So I feel like the time when you need to be at your sharpest, when you're trying to, like, gain and retain information, is when you're in school, and you have to feel safe when you're in school. So I'm not saying that you can't have good outcomes if you don't have a black teacher. I'm just saying, like, the study is showing that your outcomes will be better when you have black teachers, because not only the nurturing part, that's not the part that stood out to me. The part that stood out to me is the expectations. Like, it becomes like when someone expects a lot from you. So here's another study, y'all. There was two classrooms. The same standardized test scores wasn't different. They were just split up randomly. One teacher was told, these students are gifted. The other teacher was told, these are regular students. Study. The students, right, the teachers who thought they had gifted students, they pushed those students harder, and those students achieved more. So to me, it's not just about the nurturing aspect. It's about, I believe you can do this. Yeah. And for black teachers looking at black kids, they're like, you can do this. Stop being lazy. Get it done. Whereas white teachers are like, oh, they grew up in poverty. It may just be hard for them. They may go home to, like, parents who, you know, don't like them. You know, so it's like they push it back. So I think that's it. You deal with adversity. And that's what I told my son. Like, I want him to go to an HBCU. That's like, he doesn't have to, but if he don't go, I ain't paying for it. So he has a choice. You know, I would never take that choice away from him. But I want him to go to an HBCU because my cousins were like, well, he need to go to a white university, learn how to deal with, like, white people, like racism. He's going to deal with that in life. But I don't want him to deal with that when he's in school. I want him to be around successful black people. I want him to have a friend group of people who are black that look like him, that are successful and have the same mindset as him. So I'm not trying to take away adversity from him, but I'm trying to make sure that when he's in a learning environment, he feels safe and comfortable.
And I get that, you know, as far as with the HBCU, but also you got to understand, it's and I'm pretty sure you understand. I don't want to say it sounded like that, but you know, a lot of opportunities is different. You know, I wasn't granted a lot of the opportunities from my HBCU, not saying it wasn't beneficial to me. And I understand I've seen a lot of black people striving for where I am, but we have to, you know, sometimes realize what the majority is, you know what I mean? So not saying that, you know, you have to go where the majority is, but you have to learn how to navigate. I feel like I know how to deal with more white people or more diverse people having that background. The only time I've been in public school was 2 years, junior, senior year, and then I went straight to a HBCU. So then I know how to doctor my own community. You know what I mean? As far as, but I know how to navigate when a white person is being ultimately sarcastic. I know when they're trying to be fake funny or whatever. So I know these things.
But you shouldn't have learned that in school. That wasn't.
Regardless, if I know it now too as an adult, I can understand that language that they think we don't know. You see what I'm saying? It's like when a person's trying to speak Spanish to you, you don't understand. But I've been quote unquote say if I've been learning Spanish my whole life, you just don't think I know it because I'm black. And that's the same thing. You just don't think I know your body language or your mannerisms because I'm black, but I've been in these environments for a long time. Think of people like Carlton. Carlton has been nurtured and been in this world where he doesn't understand, right? So it's the same bout. Just because I'm around successful black people don't mean that's going to be my outcome.
His parents were successful black people, but he was at the school with the white people, and that also brings me back to you when you were younger and how you had identity issues because you were surrounded by nothing but white people. That's not something that you have to necessarily go through when you go to black people. Not saying that can't happen, but that's something that there's things nobody is saying you can't be great coming out of a white institution. That's not what's being said. We just know that more likely you will do better when you are surrounded by people who look like you and who are more eager for you to do better versus somebody who's like, well, he's just lucky to be here. You don't want nobody looking at you because if I'm looking at you like you just lucky to be here, I'm not trying to challenge you. I'm not trying to make sure that you are at your top. It's just, well, he got a 66% on that. That's probably all he could do. He did his best. Let me pass him and keep him going.
But you're looking at it as like, because once again, I'm a person that I thrive off the negative. I'm not one of those people that like, oh, positive affirmations work for me. I love when the odds are bet against me because I love when you count me out. So to prove you better, that's part of my probably toxic nature. You know what I mean? But I feel as though that's what I work.
But that's because you had to be conditioned with that. Imagine if you did not have to come from a place. Imagine if you wasn't conditioned to think that something has to be pushed against me in order for me to grow. Imagine if somebody was just watering you and you grew off that versus I have to survive and shit. That's not what your experience is your experience, but just because you went through that does not mean that's the way it should have happened for you. And not saying it the other way is the way it should have happened for you.
And I will agree that, sometimes one teacher told me that I wasn't going to land in the high school that I eventually, went on going. But what I will say this, people will try to manipulate you and say you can't do it and probably put you on a path that you did not even want to go into. You know what I mean? So I think that's a lot of the times that happens in the case, like you can't do it, you can't be that, and then you amount to it. But this probably wasn't the place it was best for you anyway.
So, and I look at it like this too. When you finish that, when you get to the end of that, I'd rather get to the end of something and finish it and accomplish it and be able to look back and say, all these people knew I could do it versus, well, y'all didn't think I could do it, but I'm still here because now I'm just celebrating with myself versus being able to celebrate with all these people who knew I could get to this point. Yeah. It's a little different.
That's powerful.
Thank you. Now, Miss Massey,
you sound fine over the phone. I need to see what you look like. I'm sorry.
Be respectful. Chill out.
You do sound fine over the phone. I know you got a son. You probably want to beat me up, but you do sound very fine over the phone.
Well, thank you.
But we talked a little bit. You touched on like losing a student. Do you feel comfortable to talk more about that? Like to get into that?
Yeah.
I think that like my bad.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, got you. I think I shared with Nas that like throughout high school we were losing a lot of people left and right, like to gun violence, to other stuff, car accidents, everything. And then even after high school, graduating, these last few years has been terrible for my class. We lost my best friend right before graduation. We lost him a week after prom, a week before graduation, a week after prom, right in between. So, and we had another student who was shot and disabled for a while right during that time too. We were going through a lot. So as a teacher, as somebody who, you build these relationships with these students, you take these people up under your wing and you are basically preparing them for their futures. When those futures get taken away from them, how do y'all process that? How do you go on?
I feel like I was at some point I was becoming numb. It's like, it almost feels like PTSD. Like I grew up in inner city Cleveland. But I didn't when I was in high school, I went to Cleveland High School. I didn't deal with like gun violence. I didn't lose any of my classmates to gun violence. And so when I came to the high school that I worked at, it became like it was like a numbness. Like I started to become concerned because I was like, I feel like, I'm such a sensitive person. I'm so empathetic. And I started to just like be like, I feel like I was almost unable to feel something. And so when the student that I had like become extremely close to, like, I would take him, like, and the other student, the two other girls, like, we would just go, like, I would take them to dinner. We would catch up. Lunch, we would catch up. Like, so when that happened, I wasn't working in Cleveland anymore. I had left schools, and someone had called me, like, and she was like, such and such got shot. And I was like, it was another kid. And I was like, well, what happened? Like, I wasn't thinking like mine, like, my student. And she told me, no, such and such. And I was just like, wait, what? Like, I just remember, like, I was in the bathroom and I just like fell to the floor and just started sobbing. Like, I don't remember feeling like that type of like, it took me by surprise, because I felt like that's one of the reasons I left. I felt like I was becoming too numb to it, too adjusted to it. And it just like washed over me, like, just like, no, like, cause this person was like a good person, like, not a bad person, smart mouth, irritating, like just saying little smart stuff all the time, but not a bad person. Like the one out of all the students that I had, the one I knew was going to call and check up on me. The one that every birthday I had was wishing me like happy birthday. Like, Ms. Massey, what you been up to? Like, Ms. Birds, like, how you doing? Like, what's going, like just always checking up on me. And like that one, it really affected me in a way that I didn't expect it to. Yeah. Like I was having trouble sleeping, like, just like it really made me look at just the crisis, like this violence crisis a little differently in the inner city. Like it made me just like, I think that's one of the reasons I left the classroom, because I felt like I wanted to. I was like, I just felt like helpless, Yeah. Like, what can I do? Like, how can I, like, could I have done something differently? Like, it just felt so dumb. Like, why is he dead? Because he said something to someone and that person got mad. So why is his life over? Like at 20, how was Jay? Like 22, 21? I don't even know if he was 22 yet. Like, I don't know. It really shook me up. And shortly after that, we had another death. He wasn't in your class. I think he was a couple of years behind y'all.
I'm trying to think.
And then, go ahead.
I was just trying to think who it was, but we don't want to say names on here. For real.
So I have a question. When do you feel like you have to give up on the student and you'd be like, well, this is not my job anymore? Like, you remove yourself from that.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't feel like, so for the, I have had students where I felt like I've done everything. I mean, at some point, I think when you just get tired, like, you're like, I've done everything I can, and I can't attach myself to this outcome anymore because it's gonna break my heart. Like, I've just gotta like pull back. Like, I'll never stop, like, like if I gotta call home or like have conversations, I'll never get tired of that. But it's like you kind of remove yourself from the outcome of it a little bit, where you to protect yourself. So I feel like it's never a point where I'll stop doing things, but it's a point where I'll stop, like, kind of feeling like I'm so emotionally invested.
We talked a couple weeks ago on here about like teachers and parents and the relationship and everything. Because I know a lot of people look at parents and be like, well, why aren't you doing your job? Why aren't you, sending your kids to school? And I used to think like that too. And then not the other day, but at that time, it occurred to me that, right now we have parents who are still like trying to be heavily involved in their kids' life. But if I'm working 16 hours, I can't come home and give you 100% parent if I just got done on a 16-hour shift. I'm expecting you to do what you're supposed to do in school. So like, how is that navigating with parents and like just being understanding of, what parents is going through and what y'all are going through at the same time though?
Yeah, I think that's one missing piece. When we talk about like education, I don't feel like it's enough parental involvement. And I think sometimes I understand it because I know how intimidating it is when you come into a school. And it really used to bother me when I would go, because I was an intervention specialist, I would go to IEP meetings and hear these people talking in terms that are educational terms that if you don't work in education, you won't know. It's almost like you trying to sound smart at someone else's expense. Like, this parent doesn't know like what a percentile and, you know, like a standard deviation is. Why are you using these terms? And I think sometimes that's why parents are like hesitant to be involved, because, you know, either the teachers are talking down to them or they're using like educational language that's not like easily understandable to someone that doesn't work in education. Yeah. For me, like, and I you know, I came into it kind of like what you just said, like, why are these parents coming up to the school? Like, why are they not involved? Like, you know, just really with that kind of jacked up attitude without understanding, like, my mom was a mom who was on welfare, who wasn't able to come. And I felt like my mom was a good mom, but she couldn't necessarily call off work all the time, or she might not get paid. Right. You know, so it's like, it's not that she didn't care about us, but it's like, if you got to make a decision, do I go to work and work this shift and pay this bill, or do I go up to my child's school? Sometimes you got to make the decision that's not the one you necessarily want. So I think like it's for me, it was a mind shift, and like these, like they care about their children, and a lot of times they're doing the best that they can. So that is not my place to judge, and I'm not going to judge. I'm gonna just like ask how I can support them. You know, like, what can I do? Like, do you need my help with anything? Without trying to act like I'm trying to, without getting into that savior complex, which is easy to do. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, if you're in the inner city, for Black and white teachers, it's easy to do. But just like, you know, realistically, how can I help?
So I dealt with this when I was in school, like elementary, or, you know, I don't think not so much high school and stuff like that, but not really assessing a kid right. I think a lot of the teachers don't know where the reality is that the kid come from, and they try to diagnose anxiety, ADHD, or something like that, or try to throw them in special ed class. So I want to know your take on those instances like that.
Listen, so what I do now is I work for a charter sponsorship agency, and we go around to different charter schools and do reviews, and then I do like special ed reviews. So I'm looking through the SPED files and kind of like just trying to find trends, like how I can support them. And so it just hit me, like, I'm looking at all these like SPED files, and I'm like, I would guess that 70% of these students that have been diagnosed with disabilities don't actually have disabilities, but it's just like the teacher is like, oh, they're just out of control. They won't sit still. I need to do something. I can't control them. And so they evaluate them, and all of a sudden they're in SPED. They're in special education. But I don't think there's people don't make the connection between trauma in childhood and how it like impacts your like ability to learn in like educational environments. And a lot of times what these teachers are seeing are the impacts of trauma. Yeah. And like trauma doesn't have to mean that you come from a jacked up home. It can mean that you're living in an environment where you're seeing like people die, like violence, where you're surrounded by violence, where you're losing friends. You're seeing like people on drugs. You're seeing your friends whose family members are on drugs. You're seeing them navigate that. And that becomes trauma for you. And it impacts the way you think and how much you can take. Like, it impacts like your ability to focus, like your ability to retain information. And instead of really like addressing those issues that trauma brings, and, you know, we just put kids in special ed. So I see it all the time. I work with students with emotional disturbance, and 90% of my kids didn't have an emotional disturbance. They just acted up because they could. So they act out and do what they wanted to do because that's what they wanted to do. And the teacher's like, well, I can't control you. And so then they got put in this label, and they were like, most of my kids were really smart.
Yeah. A lot of times it seems like it's the kids who get bored easily, and like, I'm done with the work. I'm done with this. I'm not challenged. What's next?
Yep.
Do you think teaching?
So I'm gonna cut up.
Do you think teaching is like hip hop, where people be like, oh, it's not like the old hip hop where we gotta teach and the lessons and stuff like that? It's like more like we gotta adapt and stuff like that. Do you feel like a lot of teachers is now in that era of, I don't have to adapt, they have to get with the program instead of adapting with the program?
I absolutely, and I see that in like schools like in Cleveland, where it's like suburban schools the demographics are changing. They're getting like this influx of Black students, and a lot of them are like, low income Black students, and they don't know. They're like, I'm not changing. I've been teaching this way for 20 years. You got to get with it, because I'm not adapting. I don't care. Like, it's been working, and it's harmful to like the students, because like my sister works in a district, and it's harmful. Like, it's you just see like these teachers and the way they're interacting with these kids, they're kicking them out. They're saying, you're not doing enough to protect teachers. Like, this kid is acting up. How are you protecting me? Get him out of the classroom. He needs to be suspended. Like, and it's really just a lack of adaptability. The teachers can't adapt.
And you would
when they should be the ones adapting.
Right. You would think as a teacher, you should be able to adapt to different learning styles, or at least showcase different learning styles for different students, because you shouldn't have been there. You can't tell me that 36 kids in your classroom are all the same person. They all think the same. They all learn the same. And again, that is a lot of kids for one teacher. 36 kids. I remember we used to be in classes like that. That is a lot of kids. But you can't tell me, even in a class of 10, 15 people, everybody is thinking the same and everybody is like learning in the same way. You can't tell me that's happening. Nope. I see that they wanted teachers to become armed in classes. Like, how do you feel as a teacher, even having to think about the possibility of a mass shoot, or as someone who was teaching, the possibility of a mass shooter coming in? And I know we had one of those situations at school where it was like a possibility or something, but how, like, what can you tell me what that's like to have to come into school every single day and have that in the back of your head, like this could be happening, and then them wanting y'all to arm yourselves, especially when you have situations like that situation that happened with the student and teacher?
I really, really hate the idea of teachers arming themselves. And again, to me, it's parallel to that situation with the spanking. What happens when it's a white teacher who's fed up with a little black kid, and I felt attacked, or if she was getting dangerous, she was coming at me, That's always the scenario that comes to my head when I think of teachers arming themselves.
Yep.
It scares me. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't think teachers are paid enough, and I just don't think guns have a place in schools. Like, it's scary. It's traumatic.
When they first started rolling out them metal detectors, and I was in elementary, that scared me. I was like, "What's going on? What they bringing in here?"
I mean, serious, but it doesn't help. Like when I was at the school, someone brought a weapon into my classroom by opening it, by simply open a door, and they brought it in. So if people want to get something, they find a way.
Right. That is so scary though, and to have to work under that and just, I don't know, that is crazy.
I ain't gonna lie. I was working at a school photography. I was always looking for the exes. Once the kid was acting out, when it comes to that shooting stuff, like they would really lash out. You would really be looking like, all right, it might be the day. Like today might be the day, like where they had enough. Because the kids be ruthless. Kids be so unfiltered. Like even as a person that's coming temporarily, you have to be like on guard, because you don't know, like at any day this kid could pop off and be like, or any day somebody can come in, because it's so easy. It's so easy to get inside of a school. That's why I was like,
it is.
I can literally, I don't know how you feel about teacher, not teacher, what was I just talking about? It's a parent volunteer. I don't agree with a parent volunteers being in the school. I don't care if you're a stay-at-home mom. Sell waist beads. That's how I feel, because I feel like they don't be knowing, and those would be the people that be letting you in the school half of the time. Especially for my job, I could have been coming in with a whole bunch of ARs and grenades and all type of stuff, and I can say, oh yeah, all right, well they got school photography on this day. All right, yeah, I'm the school photographer. All right, they let me in. Or you'll be in here, and I could just set up shop, and like it's no security when it comes to that. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm the school volunteer or something like that. So I don't always agree that. Listen, be on payroll if you want to help. That's what I say.
That is crazy.
Yeah, and be vetted.
Yeah, be vetted.
We go get into these closed captions, and then we go wrap up the show. Miss Massey, I almost called you.
What's your first name? I feel like we've
she already said her
Eiley.
You said, what is it? I'm sorry.
It's Eiley.
Eiley, okay. You married?
Yeah. I am not.
Oh, okay, all right.
Miss Massey, have you ever read the book Dear God, It's Me, Margaret?
When I was a really young child, but I don't remember it much though.
I read the book too. Like I was a reader. I don't know why I read it, but I don't knock that I read it. But you see, they coming out with a movie with it for it.
Are they?
They are. For a hot second, I was being a hater, and I was like, I don't understand. This wasn't even a needed movie. And then I thought to myself, like, it is a needed movie. It's a lot of young girls who go through this, or not even a lot, but there's a majority of young girls who experience this, and this might be a good coming of age movie for them, and not even just for them, but even the people around them to understand and like be a little bit more empathetic to them when they going through those situations and stuff. And it kind of just made me think of like, not being a hater, but just because it's not for you doesn't mean it can't be good for other people.
That's true.
Because it was a good show or a good book. I like the book.
What did I recently watch that was really good? I've been on I don't know. I ain't watched nothing that was really good. I've been watching a lot of weird stuff. Nothing teacher based or anything like education. Actually, no. Here I was watching. I'll be watching Corey Kenshin. I'm pretty sure you might not be familiar with him, but he's a guy. He plays games, but he's playing this horror game that's supposed to be quote unquote educational, and it's like a Dora the Explorer type of thing. And you pop in the tape, you figure out these puzzles and stuff like that. But the girl is like it hooks the kids and it'll make the kids disappear. So many disappearances with the kids and stuff like that. So I've been more into that. It's been really kind of creepy because it's like it feel real. Like they'll put like in the game they'll play like a real live tape, like me and you, like real live action tape, and it'll be like something real creepy, real eerie and stuff like that. So it's been, that's what I've been watching. So that being said, like monitor like what your kids watch on a tablet, and because predators are real. Everybody's not a Chris Hansen. Everybody's not going to expose a pedophile.
What about you, Miss Massey? Anything you been watching lately?
Oh, damn.
I'm not watching. I don't know. I feel like I don't watch enough TV. I just I was watching this show called The Consultant. This show called Your Honor. But I've been reading a lot. I've been reading some good books recently.
She gave me some book suggestions. There was some dope.
Did you pick any of them up?
No. I did.
What happened to you is like,
I actually have that one right now. That's one that's on my reading list. But you know how you get in the moments where it's like, okay, I do want to be on a spiritual journey. I want to be better.
You do that journey?
Not like necessarily spiritual, but I'm on that journey where it's like I do want to improve myself. I want to kind of be a better person. I want to read stuff that's going to...
like self-improvement. Yeah.
And so I do have that. I've been looking up some other stuff, and I think you sent another book. It was like 15 essays by black men or something. I think that might have... I'm not 100% sure, but I listened to some of them because I used like this audiobook thing called Libby. And that saved my life.
I use that too. Oh gosh, I love Libby.
Libby is so clutch. I be doing everything, and I just press play or driving, whatever. It's so clutch.
It is.
So
I love Libby.
My last thing, got one.
She had a book.
Oh, go ahead.
You said you've been listening to a book.
I've been the one I sent you about neuroplasticity, because those are the things that I've been on, like poverty, and neuroplasticity, like how trauma impacts the brain. Not really poverty, but how trauma impacts the brain and neuroplasticity.
Trauma is mother effer. I ain't gonna lie.
It's a beast. It shows itself in so many ways in your life that you don't even realize.
And then I feel like it'd be crazy because you don't realize a lot of stuff until you are like, I'm 26 now.
Damn.
And yeah, it's like I go back and I be like, bro, I do this because of this. I fidget with myself because of this. Yep. I know why I have these problems. And it's like,
read it.
Yeah, it's a lot of good books out there that are not even just good books, but even people like listen to people's stories. I feel like help me understand myself a little bit better. Like, you realize where certain stuff come from.
My last thing, before we wrap everything up, how did you deal with teachers using saying sexual comments towards the women that were in the high school and stuff like that, or if you ever had that challenge?
Like other teachers?
Yeah.
Toward other teachers?
Well, not towards other teachers. Like they'll
but like
say
saying like sexist comments, like cover up and
no, not even sexist comments. Like I think at a time of high school, I've heard some teachers like in passing say something sexual about like a student or something like that.
Like what you like?
Yeah.
That's
it's crazy.
Weirdly inappropriate. In a school?
Yeah.
In a school.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, yeah. I've never seen that. I have had a student come to me and say that an adult staff member like made them uncomfortable. And they were like, the staff member asked them to go like downstairs with them to get something from the garage. And they were like, nah, because I know he be touching on people. Like some of the other girls said that like, you know, he get kind of inappropriate.
Oh.
And touches on them. So yeah, but I've had a student come to me and say that an adult staff member said something sexual about me to them.
Mm. And that's again one of them things that's inappropriate.
Like what you were saying, like you shouldn't say certain stuff to students.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just not even like, oh, we bonding, like we both men, like, but no, because it's a kid. You know.
It's a time and a place, and it's like that. I've always felt like, as even a person growing up, even with older men, I don't want to talk sexual with you. I don't. That to me, that's always been very uncomfortable. That's not something I don't want to hear about. What you know, your thoughts and everything. Especially, I'm a kid, bro.
I mean, like, you just sit there like, okay. Like, I mean, you ain't got no adult friends to talk to this about.
Yeah, you can't tell nobody else's. These is your thoughts, and this is what you own. Last question before we get to our positive messages. Last look. Have you ever had a F them kids moment where, because I feel like my class could have gave you that sometimes.
Fuck them.
Man, Vince, like the way that your class would not shut up, y'all were like, it was both. It was 2 honors classes, and it was both of y'all. It wouldn't never stop talking. And then like, oh goodness.
Her and my little brother used to be into it. Carl,
and Carl. Did I used to get into it with Carl?
Yeah, that especially with Mr. Bewley that year. That first year, I think that was the first year you came. Y'all were into it.
But listen, so this is the thing about that class. Like, I've always been an English teacher. Mm-hmm. Like, I've always loved English. I hate math. Like, I just don't like math. But they put me into that class with him because, like, you know, they were like, well, he needs he need a black teacher in there with him.
Right.
But I hated math, and so your class, I didn't really like. I like in a math class, I felt like I was just like there, like security, like stop talking, stop doing this, you know. And like in your class, y'all wouldn't respond to nothing. I feel like, would y'all shut up?
Because we thought we was grown. We thought we was grown, and it was like we like, who is this young woman coming in here telling us what to do?
Listen. I don't know. It was like, and y'all like, it's like, cause y'all was honors. So y'all was like a little bit of know-it-all. I was like, I know this. I'm an adult. I can do this. Like, I don't, you know, so it was like, oh goodness, y'all was a little like, and you would think it would be like the other classes. Cause they like, you know, cause in other classes, they'd be cutting up. But y'all's reputation preceded y'all. Like the class of 2016, like y'all reputation was like, they was like, oh, this class ain't no joke.
We wasn't. We was going through a lot. That was a we went through a lot within them 4 years. All right.
But that was my favorite class, though. It was my favorite class.
I'm gonna hit this button so we can get up out of here.
All right. It was a pleasure talking to y'all.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
What's it?
It's about that time where we leave a positive message to get through the week. Special guest.
Miss Massey, if you want, this is the time where you leave the guest with a positive message. This could be anything that you want to leave them with.
Okay. Gosh, put me on the spot. I just want to like leave the message to. I don't really have no positive message. That sucks. Like I don't know. Like always.
What era are you in?
Like always stay committed. Listen, I'll just say this: stay committed to self-improvement. Look up neuroplasticity and understand the importance of like positive thoughts and manifesting positive things in your life. What you focus on is what grows. So continue to focus on like the best parts about yourself and strengthen those things. And as a byproduct, you'll just become a stronger and have a better mentality and be a more positive person.
I love that.
That was beautiful.
I love that. What's your positive message?
Thank you.
Since we were talking about teachers in this episode, have a lot of respect for your teachers. They go through a lot. Your teachers are still human at the end of the day. They don't get paid enough to be dealing with a lot of stuff that they deal with. Especially our black teachers. I feel like it takes a lot on both ends to be a black teacher, because you, number one, have to deal with students, and then you got to deal with your coworkers. And the older you get, the more you realize how hard it is to be able to, or how draining it is to have to walk on eggshells with teachers, with students, and all that. You got to balance that whole side, and you got to keep your professional black side, which means that you cannot express yourself the same way that other people will. Before you try to walk up on a teacher, just think, is this teacher done with your bullshit? Is this the time where they actually go swing back this time, and ask if you really want them problems? Instead of walking up on teachers, instead of trying to get aggressive with them, go get the principal. If you disagree with something, go get a principal, or go get your mama. That's what I used to do.
I love that. That's what I tell my son. Don't argue with those teachers. Get me.
Right. It's a way to go about it.
Jeez. My positive message to get through the week. It's one of those things where you're not what they say you are. You know, sometimes, and since we are talking about a teacher's episode, sometimes teachers say things out of spite. Sometimes it spirals into the classroom of what they're dealing with in real life. So I know a lot of the times even the best students didn't even amount to the things that I've amounted to, and they have become, the worst things. And those students that you call that they're acting bad or expressing bad, I always look at they will always call me a procrastinator, but in my eyes, it's no cons in being something that starts with pro. And I know
you know how corny that was?
I know that sounds crazy, but listen, I always feel like, when it comes to a procrastinator, is always equal to a laziness. That's two different things, and they don't even have the same synonyms. So when you're procrastinating, you're just waiting on that perfect time to elevate. You know what I mean? So when you're lazy, you're just lazy. So yeah, just be the best person you can be. Don't let them people say you're less than you're not. I was the bad kid. I was the act out. So,
Speak your truth.
Not saying that, my life is the pitch perfect place, but I'm not where they said I was going to be. So, and, I never will. So that's my positive message to,
you're long-winded today.
I know, right? That's my positive message to get through the week. I've been Nas.
I'm Vince.
A special guest.
Eileen.
Thank you, Miss Massey, for coming on the show. And, speaking from an educational standpoint, you gave a lot of great thoughts on this episode. We appreciate it. Hopefully, we can have you on here again, maybe get into
person.
the...
I would love to see you in person.
Stop. Bro.
This has been great. You've sounded so amazing. This is to be very transparent. When Vince pitched the idea to me, I did not think it was going to be like crazy good, but you have turned. This has been a great episode so far this day. I've enjoyed every last little bit of it. So I wish the best for you, and I hope you talk to more people to make them feel good as I did listening to you today. So
thank you. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed myself. I gotta catch up on some of you guys' podcasts, so this was really interesting. So
thank you
so much.
Appreciate it. Well, we don't always post it right after, but we'll let you know like right before we post the episode and stuff. And if you feel like it's anything like you want to not go over, but like if you think about it and you like, maybe I shouldn't have said this, I don't want that on there, just let us know. And we'll edit it before sending it out or whatever.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy, audio copy, so you can listen to it just to see.
Definitely appreciate you though.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right.
See you later.
Right.
Well,
okay, bye-bye.
Thank you for being awkward with us. See you next week.
hurry up and run the fuck out of here.